Welcome to Psychology Daf. We are in Gemara Pesachim Daf Pei Beis. And I want to ask you a question. If you have the money and you're successful and you want to celebrate something big, a siyum, a wedding, something that's worth celebrating, is there any reason to hold back? Is there a value to be modest and be humble? I'm not talking about ostentatious displays of wealth for no reason. That, obviously, it's much better to hold back. But what about a legitimate simcha, a wedding? You waited a long time to marry off one of your children. Or maybe you didn't wait a long time, but you still want to celebrate and invite as many people as possible. Is there a problem with that, morally, ethically? Now, our Gemara in Amud Aleph mentions an idea that according to Rav Yosef, no one was allowed to bring their own wood to burn leftover sacrificial meats, so as not to embarrass the poor who could not afford to bring their own wood. So you see there's this idea that we don't want the people that don't have to be embarrassed in any obvious way by the people that do. And we find this idea in other areas of halacha too, such as the famous Shidduch festival that took place on Yom Kippur and on the 15th of Av, that's described in the Gemara in Tainus on Daf Chaf Vav Amud Beis, that all the maidens would wear borrowed clothes so as not to embarrass those who cannot afford. And also a certain customs around mourning that were developed specifically to protect the embarrassments of families who couldn't afford and had to bury their dead in poverty. So it seems like this is a rather broad idea with many applications in halacha. Yet, interestingly, there's one Gemara where the opposite is maintained. The Gemara in Ksubis on Daf Nun Dalet Amud Beis says that one could increase the gift in the marriage contract to any amount beyond the standard amounts, and the sages were not concerned that it would embarrass the brides who were less wealthy. Now, I haven't found any commentaries who suggest an answer to this apparent contradiction, but I'd like to suggest that perhaps there's a difference between a situation where there's very little gained by the ostentatious display and the embarrassment is strong in comparison. So, for example, take the situation of the various mourning customs that are designed to have funerals that look equal and uniform. Well, first of all, the dead person isn't going to benefit a whole lot from having a lavish send-off. They are dead, after all. On the other hand, the embarrassment to the poor family who can't afford all the doodads and special caskets and gear and paraphernalia, they might be legitimately embarrassed. Or think about the situation where the during the marriage festivals, the shidduch festivals, when the maidens would all dance around, the girls that didn't have the good clothing, they would suffer terrible embarrassment. So the idea that everybody had to borrow created a certain kind of equality and uniformity. Look, obviously there were some girls that were prettier than others. Obviously there were some girls that were wealthier than others. But apparently this was enough to at least put people in some space where they'd understand that ostentatiousness is not such a great idea. Now, on the other hand, the case of the ksuba, where the person wants to put for his daughter a much larger amount than the recommended amount in the ksuba, that's the money in the ksuba was a form of Social Security. It was basically financial insurance against divorce or widowhood, and that money in the ksuba was used by the widow or by the divorcee to support herself. So there was tremendous practical significance to how much money was given, and maybe the amount of embarrassment that the less wealthy brides felt by being outclassed, maybe that wasn't worth it. So now the question is, how do we apply that principle to weddings and other celebrations? Perhaps it is similar to the money in the marriage contract in that it offers a degree of financial security. Why? Because in a larger, more robust wedding, there definitely will be an encouragement for people to give gifts that are commensurate to the largesse of the celebration. So we are in some way providing more social and financial security for the chassan and kala And maybe that makes it worth it. Maybe that overrides the discomfort that less fortunate and less wealthy brides might experience. On the other hand, it's not a concrete benefit. It's not like actually putting money into the marriage contract. And so, maybe the embarrassment of the brides is more important than that. But my advice is spend a decent amount on the wedding. Enjoy what you can. Don't go into debt, but enjoy whatever gifts God gives you and celebrate your happiness on a great occasion and spend the money and enjoy yourself within reason. However, like everything in life, a little moderation is a good idea, so don't go overboard.